I think it's a very practical discipleship way to preach. I mean, clearly there are some discontinuities because life under the Mosaic covenant it contains some aspects of the literature that wouldn't have a direct correlation to New Testament. But I think you can in fact make appropriate application. Yeah. I remember I preached a message from the 2nd chapter on pursuing wisdom, and the whole chapter really sets up pretty neatly in terms of if then.
Yes, I remember
kinds
this
of things,
one. Yes,
and so I preached it through the chapter as in requirements and results and the reasons that were given. And in the results section, clearly there's promise of life in the land, which read in its original context would be in the land of promise under
physical
the Mosaic.
prosperity.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be careful when you approach that. But I think their promise of dwelling in the land can be principialized to some degree to God's promise to believers in this dispensation that we'll dwell with Christ.
Yep.
So I think you can make the moves. I mean, obviously some of the stuff that's tied to material prosperity we have to walk carefully through.
Yeah.
But carefully doesn't mean we abandon it. And sometimes what happens is you get the health and wealth people run in there and just pick it up as if it's one-for-one correspondence. But sometimes we can shy away from it so much that we don't mind the treasures that are there. And I think as long as you are recognizing how do we approach this in a timeless way and make appropriate application, then I don't think it's a problem. And I think one of the issues you wrestle with Proverbs all along is sometimes they're treated as promises.
Right.
So hermeneutically, you need to figure out what you think about Proverbs and how they operate, because that's going to affect it. Like even I just quoted the 18.
He who finds a wife finds a good thing.
In that sermon, which I'm sure you can remember.
Yeah.
I said,
you'd be surprised.
This text is I think my basic the first 2 points of the sermon, if I can recall correctly, are marriage is a good thing. That this text is telling us that it's a good thing that God's plan is for marriage, and I was just trying to show that we've got to have an orientation toward this that comes at it from God's perspective, and a marriage partner is a gift from God. That was the second point. Now at that point I stopped and said, now remember the context here would be that this is the kind of marriage partner that Proverbs has talked about.
Yeah.
Because what we don't want to do is pit this text against, for instance, the one that says, the comment about a wife that shames her husband is actually a disgrace to him. So you have these two statements, and we have to find a way to harmonize them. And the way I think to harmonize them in that context is that the general principle is this.
Right.
But if a person is choosing to defy God, then it clearly can cause problems in a marriage. And the wife if someone's chosen a wife that hates God,
right,
then they shouldn't be looking at this and going, well, that's a gift from God.
Right.
You defied Him. So that's even in a simple kind of a text where we'd have to say, like we do really with all Scripture, but
yes.
we need to make certain that we're handling it properly, and if it's making a general statement, then we don't want to treat it as if it's a statement made or intended to communicate something that would actually be contradictory to other Scripture. Which that you run in Proverbs about promises of long life, promises of prosperity, because certainly some believers have been in points of need, 2 Corinthians 8 and 9.
Right.
So you can't, you've got to come out with a consistent theological framework within which you handle those kinds of texts.
Yeah.